All right, y'all. Today we're gonna look at this boudoir photography business, see if they have BSS with their local or their city Google search here in Vacaville, California. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, home post somewhere on this profile. And this is because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Over on the left, we got the highest intent peeps, Google searchers, social searchers, searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city today, right now. Focus on talk about BSS here in all our videos. Over on the right, we got the lowest intent peeps, peeps that ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. And actually, most of them have no idea what the heck boudoir even is. We reach them through interruption ads on Instagram and Facebook. And we talk about that over on our sister brand, profiles, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And over there, we currently only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so BSS is boudoir search sameness. That is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. If we got 0 slots on page 1 on Google, man, we're basically already dead here. Because we now have the data, we know that approximately 80% of Google searches never even never even go to page 2. They're page 1 and done searches only. So approximately 80% of the marketplace. So that's the bulk of the marketplace. So we're invisible to 4/5 of people from page 2 or deeper. So we gotta get on page 1. But 1 slot on page 1, that ain't enough. Because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1, which means, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers, everyone's got 1 slot. Everyone looks the same. No one stands out. So guess what? A buyer is simply gonna click down through everyone. Open everyone's website, do price quotes, price shop, price compare, negotiate, and that kills our margins. And since we don't look any different, we do not want either of these scenarios. Now, 0 and 1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It is the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation. So that's more boudoir photographers entering the marketplace every single week, it seems like. Basically, anytime anyone gets a new new iPhone or new camera, new gear, they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. They're throwing a website saying they shoot boudoir, and they are throwing up they're posting the mom Facebook group saying they're now for boudoir photo shoots. So the same number of sellers, or large number of sellers to the same number of buyers, means it's harder for every single seller. Margins compress, people disappear. And so everyone really understands market saturation. It happened in a big way with COVID. People lost their jobs, so they still had to work. Everyone's got a phone with a great camera. Okay, easy to start a boudoir photography business. Market saturation. Now, the one most people don't know about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So it seems like a lot of boudoir photographers simply kind of, passively accept that, as a boudoir photographer, you're going to get either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. But what actually happens is, let's say you got 1 slot on page 1 on Google, you're on like slot 8. A few new boudoir photographers into the market pushes our website back to slot, somewhere on page 2. And boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, that's how it is. You normally get either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. And this is 100% incorrect. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. So I know it's false this is a false belief of page 1 equality, that a boudoir photographer gets 0 or 1 slots and that's it, because I went and did the opposite. So what I discovered was that Google actually give as many slots on page 1 as somebody wants to put in the effort to acquire. So okay, now we can build a solution around this, and we've done that. See that in 2 pictures. Now, a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer at DBP. And if we got 0 slots on page 1, or on page 2 or deeper, invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace, obviously we're disappearing. But if we're on page 1, we got 1 slot, we're still basically invisible. It's basically disappearing, being price shopped against everyone. Both cases are bad, and we care about disappearing boudoir photographer because if we are a disappearing boudoir photographer, that means our It's kind of like the warning light, the flashing check engine light, the warning signal, saying, hey, our boudoir photography business itself is on the path to actually disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered through testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S cubed methodology. And S cubed methodology, it works exactly as the name says. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. So we show up there when they search them. And when we do this, when we saturate social search, that's kind of like all the snow on the backside of the Andes Mountains, the east side, down in South America. That snow melts, goes into small streams, flows into small streams, small rivers. That's social search saturation. And then that all flows into the Amazon River. That's page one search on Google is the Amazon River. So it all starts with saturating social search. And the interesting thing about SQ methodology is it's the only thing that I've seen that can allow the photography business to continue to grow in the face of market saturation and even massive market saturation. The only other second thing that could allow that is having a large, well-known brand. So brand would obviously solve that, but that takes 5 to 10 years to acquire. We don't have 5 to 10 years. AI is here taking people's jobs. We need to dominate fast and fight against market saturation as fast as possible. And something I see that kind of looking at estimates here, I believe SQ methodology can actually help people build a brand actually approximately 8x faster than normal methods because we're showing up so frequently on so many different surfaces. So it's kind of like the only turbo brand builder boost thing out there. So imagine if you've got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology, you're basically untouchable by market saturation. So an example of still growing in the face of market saturation, let's say we're in a boudoir. Let's say we're in, I want to go to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's say we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. There's 1 million boudoir photographers there. Each boudoir photographer has their own websites and they shoot boudoir. Everyone's fighting for those 10 organic page one slots on Google. Massive competition. And what actually happens is we're like, man, the only way we can compete, well, if we had brand, but we ain't got that large, well-known brand. So the only other second option is we got to utilize SQ methodology. So we take it, we crank it up to the max. And when we crank it up to the max, let's say we're ranking for the first 300 slots for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords across all of social search. And when we do that, let's say that flows out onto Google, and we saturate the first 300 slots, page one of first 300 slots of Google for those highest intent boudoir buyer searches. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that means we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And so for any boudoir buyers out there, anywhere they search, social search, Google search, we're basically the only boudoir photographer that pops up. We've literally taken all the slots from everyone else. This would be SQ methodology to the ultra super max. But if we're essentially the only one being found, whose business is growing? Ours. In the face of massive market saturation, whose business is disappearing, slowing down, vanishing? Well, it's the 999,999 other boudoir photographers that can basically only be found Google page 31 or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of searches never even hit page 2. So dude, who's actually going to page 31? Ain't nobody going to page 31. Now, once true with SQ methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. So initial benefit, more slots, page 1 on Google. Second initial benefit is actually, we take those more slots on Google, actually kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1 and putting them on page 2 or deeper, effectively making them invisible. And when we do that, we actually turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, and eventually they'll most likely exit the market. So a lot of boudoir photographers actually get this benefit better than the first one we talked about. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So the GBC universe recommends, as a recommended minimum, of getting 3 out of 10 slots on Google page 1. And that's because if everyone else has got 1 slot, our 3 slots, we're going to dominate them, look way better. People wonder why Google's recommending us so much and be clicking through ours. And in the super rare case, someone else has 2 links. Well, guess what? We are R3 still looks better than there too. So we're basically dominating all scenarios here. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality, which now we know is false. And we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cube methodology to solve all this. Achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results, utilizing S-cube, purely utilizing S-cube methodology for myself. So I want to, frank for the term here, BLCS boudoir, I want to dominate page one of Google, BLCS boudoir. So I utilize S-cube methodology, started with 0 out of 10 links on page one of Google. And let's see what I was able to get to. So we got organic, slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I was able to go from 0 out of 10 slots page one on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page one on Google in only 10 days. And these are my results I got purely using S-cubed methodology. So now main event here, we're going to look at this boudoir photographer of Vacaville, California. Might have to copy this, bring it over if I don't have the tab up. So we're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for their local and city search. Actually, their local and city search is actually the same in this case. All right. There's a Vacaville. All right, so going at the organic. Nope. 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 There we go. We got one. And let's see. Nope. 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 All right, so we got 1 out of 10. So, in Vacaville, where is this place? Stockton. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's between San Fran and Sacramento. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 slots for Vacaville, California. So yes, we do have BSS, or this boudoir photography business does have BSS, boudoir search sameness, and we have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google. And that's recommended because, dude, if we're 3 out of 10 local and 3 out of 10 local search, 3 out of 10 city search, page one, we can basically guarantee we're not disappearing. We're either treading water or we're growing, most likely growing. That's why we want to hit 3 out of 10. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've got BSS, you did your local search and your city search, and you saw, you only got either 0 or 1 slots on page one of Google, and or you have not hit the GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one. And you understand the page one equality belief, and now you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's false, when we didn't really even think about it before, because now we see how I got 9 out of 10 on page one on Google organic search results. And you understand the market saturation, yeah. New iPhones, new boudoir photographers, new camera, new boudoir photographers. But you're also seeing AI take more and more people's jobs, and you're like, okay, like COVID brought in a flood of boudoir photographers. AI is taking more people's jobs, probably gonna bring in a flood of boudoir photographers as well. So you want to prepare for the influx of supply of sellers by kind of fortifying your page one Google presence. So essentially never allow those people joining to show up page one on Google. And you see S-cubed methodology, and you're like, yes, finally, I've been waiting for something like this. So you want to use S-cubed methodology to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility. And also you want the back-end bonuses of using S-cubed methodology as well, which we haven't talked about yet, we'll talk about now, which is we're basically building thematic keyword columns um, via social and on Google that are kind of columns plugged into our brand, our basically the name of our business, our social handles. And those thematic keyword columns, guess what? They increase the probability we show up here in the AI overview. They increase the probability we show up in AI search like ChatGPT search, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. Increase in the probability there. And last time I did ChatGPT search for boudoir photographers in the city, recommended me, it only gave me 3. And AI search is increasing every single day. More and more people use an AI search every single day. Still, Google is about 90% search volume, but we're kind of pre-positioning ourselves AI search, which S-Cube methodology helps with. And kind of once we build this kind of back-end invisible momentum, these thematic keyword columns that plug into all these, basically prevent people ranking on page 1 against us and build up keep building up and increase our probability of showing up across all these AI searches. And you decide you want to be a first mover because this has got to get done. Start building up this momentum because again, ads momentum goes to 0 when you stop spending. This momentum will continue ongoing. Basically, these have momentum, not infinite momentum, but you decide you want to start the momentum, then keep growing the momentum, actually dominate page 1. And you also see that the further you put yourself ahead of the competition now, when AI starts basically kind of forcing people to become boudoir photographers, you'll be well positioned to be unaffected by it because you've already built up page 1 domination, which is like, dude, that's like 7 out of 10 slots or more. Page 1 Google, 8 out of 10 slots or more. And being recommended AI search, putting distance between you and everyone else. And you want to basically guarantee that you put so much distance, nobody can catch up. Instead of a competitor working with me, where plan right now is to only work with 1 person per city. Instead of a competitor getting all these kind of momentum bonuses and page 1 slots where then you would have to actually, if I were to continue work with them, you would have to rederive the S-cubed methodology on your own, figure out how to actually get it to work. And then you will never actually know if you're doing it correctly, how we've done it. And then you'd have to equal our output to maintain the distance kind of behind your competitor that I could be working with. And you'd have to kind of double our output to actually make up that lost ground and build back up the momentum and take it from us. So you've decided, well, it's better to simply become the first mover here. So we get all the benefits, none of the drawbacks. So if you want all these benefits, shoot me a DM when I open for new patient intake. I'm not currently open for new patient intake, so even if you want to work with me, you cannot. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, shoot me a DM and we will see if you qualify.